Let's talk about 2015. Very busy year for the state of Alabama. What do you feel are some of the biggest accomplishments that you've had this year?
Well, we have to look back first at our legislative session, and I believe, fundamentally changed the way we budget in the state. We didn't get everything that we wanted to get done, but we got a lot of things done, and we were able to move over some growth money into the general fund. We still don't have quite enough money in the general fund, but we have made progress. We were able to put some more revenue in there, which was absolutely necessary in order to fund the agencies that we have and really provide the services for the people. So we did that, but we did a lot of other things too. We put in a new incentive package so we can create more jobs for the state. One of the things that I'm proudest of is we did our Fostering Hope Scholarship Plan to give every foster child in the state of Alabama a full scholarship to a university in the state of Alabama. So we think that's very important for the children of this state. We put in something called real properties that we're working on, so we can put all of the properties that the state owns under one agency and manage it properly and really save a tremendous amount of money for the people of this state. One of the other things that we recently have been involved in is, and you probably have heard something about it, is the STARS program. And this is one of the greatest things that we've ever done for the state of Alabama. And we're going to save, I have been told, hundreds of millions of dollars when every agency adopts a new IT program. We're coming out of the 1980s is what we're really doing, and coming into the 21st century. This is something we rolled out 2 or 3 years ago, and we're very proud of that. I mean, there's some hiccups, but at the end of time, when it all works, it's going to do great. One of the other things that I think is very important is we have helped recruit a number of great companies to the state of Alabama. Polaris is going to invest $600 million up in Jackson County. Over in Tuscaloosa County, Mercedes is investing $1.3 billion. That's a lot of money. We really have had some of the largest amounts of investment capital put into this state for jobs of any year that we've had since we've been governor. So we've had a lot of great things, I think, happen to the state.
I know that bringing in new revenue was a big part of the push from you going into the regular session and into the special sessions. Kind of a lofty tax plan that you had put out there. Not as successful, I think, as you would have hoped, but you were kind of walking me through and looking back on if you could do anything differently with that, would you? Not really. What we did is we put out several plans, and I know people thought we readjusted it all the time. Well, we did. We put out the first plan, which would have solved the problem for the state of Alabama for years to come. And that, of course, was probably a lofty goal, but if you don't set your goals high, you're not going to reach your goals. And so we finally came down to trying to fundamentally change the way we budget, and we were able to accomplish that by somewhat combining the budgets, by bringing over some growth money into the general fund. So we were able to accomplish that, and we were able to raise some revenue. We just have to have revenue in the state in order to supply the people of Alabama with essential services. Speaking of revenue, I know that gaming has been an issue, especially over the last year here, and the Porch Creek Tribe Indians kind of putting an offer on the table to kind of help some of the financial issues with the state when it comes to table gaming as well. That was certainly a big issue that was talked about.
Well, it was a big issue. Personally, I've always believed that people have a right to vote on the lottery particularly. I am not a big supporter of casino gambling all over the state of Alabama, even though there are 2 counties that really have constitutional amendments that allow gaming. But here again, I did put out an executive order dealing with the enforcement of law. That's all it dealt with. It didn't deal with gambling. It just said how we would enforce the laws in the state. And it is an issue. I don't think that issue is going to come back up next year as far as casino gambling is concerned. At least I've been told that. I don't know about the lottery. Someone may bring that, and of course that would be put before the people for a vote.
Do you think that either electric gaming, electric bingo, any kind of casino gaming, do you think that is a good step forward for the state of Alabama to work on bringing more money in to the general fund?
I've never been a supporter of gaming as far as revenue for the state of Alabama. Now, here again, I leave that up to the legislature and up to the people of the state of Alabama if they wish to vote on it. It is their right to vote on it. But, you know, we need to pay for the services that we have. And we need to pay for the services we have by having an equitable tax system in this state, not too high, but we need to pay for it. If you want services, you have to pay for those services. If you want new roads, you have to pay for new roads. Someone has to pay all the bills, and so it really comes down to us because, you know, all tax dollars belong to the people, and the government itself belongs to the people.
And you know, I mean, obviously raising tax, nobody wants to raise taxes on anything. That's, I think, as a conservative state, you heard it a lot in the legislature that, you know, bringing in that increased revenue is not what, at least, the representatives wanted. Is it something that needs to happen?
We're the lowest tax state in the country. Per capita, we pay less taxes in Alabama. Now, that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because a lot of people come to Alabama because they know that their taxes are not going to be exorbitant. But now there needs to be tax fairness. It is unfair when certain corporations don't pay any state income tax. And I'm against that. I think that everyone ought to pay their fair share. Giant corporations shouldn't be able to get by without paying their income tax. And when 57% of all of the large corporation in this state pay zero income tax, that's not fair. So, and people agree with me on that. You know, that's a 90% issue. Do we need more tax dollars? Yes, we actually do, if we're going to provide the essential services. Now, we've done everything that we could the first 4 years to cut the size of state government. We cut state government in Alabama more than any state in this country. No governor has cut the state government by 12.5%, and we've done that. With the help of a good legislature, we were able to get that accomplished. So we've saved the people of Alabama $1.2 billion annually, and no state has done that. That's a lot of money, at least related to how much our overall budgets are. So we've done the things that have been asked of us. And then we came to a point last year that we realized, and we knew it was coming, we knew 2016 was the year because we had borrowed money the previous 3 years to prop up the general fund. So what we tried to do was fundamentally change the way we budget, and we were able to do that to a certain extent.
2016, obviously going to be looking for different ways to bring money in. You support a gas tax now. Why is that?
No, well, I support it, but I am going to let the people who build roads and bridges lead that charge, and I'm going to let the legislature work with that. I will sign the bill if it comes to my office, and I will be behind it, but I'm not going to be in front of it. I am not going to be pushing for increased taxes this next session. I'm going to let the legislature do what they want to do. I've got some really important issues that I'm going to be bringing up. Have an agenda that is going to be really impressive, I think, for the next 3 years, and it's a 3-year plan, and we'll be rolling that out over the next month or so.
Well, I think a lot of people will be looking forward to that. Looking back over 2015, you've got a lot of accomplishments. What have been the biggest challenges, though?
Well, I think the biggest challenge this year obviously had to do with the legislature and had to do with funding, and we took that on. I mean, we could have very easily said, all right, guys, we're not going to get involved in that. Y'all just do what you want to. Well, you know, the state would not be in very good shape right now if that had happened. We could not cut our way out of it. We've cut about as much as we can cut. Now, will government spend every dollar that you give it? Absolutely, it will. So you have to be careful, and you have to make sure that things are done efficiently. And that's what we're trying to do with the STARS program. I mean, we're getting us out of the 1980s. And we're bringing us up into the 21st century where we did everything by paper. Now we're going to do everything electronically. We're going to get bills paid quicker once everything gets working right. So, you know, we need to have more government efficiency. And when we do that, we will need less money. But right now, we have to make sure that we have enough money. Now, One of the greatest presidents that ever served the United States was Ronald Reagan. And he cut the income tax rate down to 28% when he was that first year in office. They realized that first year that they had gone too far. So then over the next 7 or 8 years, they raised income tax, not income tax, but they raised taxes 11 times because they tried to get it just right. And that's all I'm trying to do in Alabama. Not tax too much, but get it just right so that we can pay our bills.
I think this year residents in Alabama probably felt like they were on a roller coaster. It was up and down. There was cuts to Aaliyah, some driver's license offices closing, state parks were on the table for closures there. Is that something you hope to avoid in the coming year? Those cuts that kind of keep residents wondering what else might be closed?
Well, you know, we presented a budget that none of that would have taken place. We presented a budget that would have adequately funded the services that people expect in the state. So that was a judgment call and a vote on the part of the legislature. They're the ones that voted to cut those areas. I was not for that, but that's just what happened, and we didn't have enough money, so we had to cut some services. We told people for 9 months that was going to happen. We told people for 9 months that we were going to have to close state parks. We told people for 9 months that we were going to have to cut back on troopers on the road or other types of services provided by Aaliyah if that took place. Our ADEM department can't make judgments on water quality, so we're afraid that EPA will take that over, and we're trying to find a way to keep that from happening. That'll affect economic development in the state. So we knew that all these things would happen if the legislature did not adequately fund the budget.
Mm-hmm. Looking ahead to next year and the budget process all over again, what do you expect some of those big challenges to be?
We will present to the legislature a balanced budget and a way to fund it. I'm going to leave it up to them. I have so many important initiatives that I'm going to be pushing that I think that will help, especially rural Alabama. And we have some very important initiatives dealing with education, job creation, workforce development, all the things that I think are very important, especially for rural Alabama. But when you bring rural Alabama forward, you're going to help the entire state of Alabama.
I had such a really great follow-up question to that, and it walked right on out. Just sitting here and listening to talk about 2015 versus 2016, you're very hands-off of putting together and pushing a plan. You want to let the legislator do it. It sounds like you're trying to take a step back and let them.
Well, they will do what they're going to do. I will present a budget plan that I think is very reasonable. And I think that it's one that they could accept and use money that we have, whether it's bringing over the use tax, and that probably will be part of it, but you have to backfill that with some revenue because we don't want to hurt education. But I have a plan and I will present that to them, and that's my constitutional duty. And then they have a constitutional duty to develop the budgets, other than if they want to make changes to what I have proposed. But what I'm saying is we will present a very good plan like we did last year. I'm not going to get involved in mud wrestling this year. So they will take my plan and they will either use it or they will develop their own plan. But I'm going to be on a different level, and I'm going to talk about all the agenda items that I have that really will help the people of Alabama, and many of those things I'll be able to do without the legislature.
It was good, and that's what I meant. You had a lofty tax plan and put forth many suggestions on how to bring in more revenue to the state in 2015, and it sounds like in 2016 you're saying, here is my plan, here's what I support. Either you guys can use this as a template or come up with your own.
Well, and that is the case. I am not going to be a proponent of tax increases as such. I mean, there may be some deductions that have to be looked at, but not those that are tax breaks for certain people that are not tax breaks for others. I think we need to have tax fairness. I think everybody expects that and they appreciate that. So those are some things that we may look at in order to backfill if we have to move over the use tax, which comes out of education. We don't want education hurt, and we'll do everything we can to protect that.
Let's move on to something I think a bit more fun. The 2016 presidential race. Okay. Lots of Republicans running. You came out and endorsed John Kasich, and we've seen over the last couple of months not a whole lot of traction with his campaign. Lots of support behind Donald Trump. Ted Cruz has been in the state multiple times. If a candidate like Donald Trump were to get the nomination, is that a candidate that you would support?
I will always support the Republican nominee, whoever that is. Do I think that Donald Trump is the best candidate? No, but he is striking a chord. He is striking a nerve with the American people because they're frustrated. And the people of America are tired of the federal government. They truly are tired of the federal government. And I'm not sure that he is the best candidate. I still think John Kasich is the best candidate. I still think he would be able to be elected president because no person can ever be elected president unless they carry Ohio. And he is a very popular governor of Ohio. He has executive experience, unlike Donald Trump, unlike Cruz, and some of the others that may be leading right now. They don't have executive experience, and I think you need to have executive experience to be a good president. But I really think he has the temperament, and I think he has the knowledge. He's been on the federal level, he understands that, but he's also, more importantly, had some executive experience, and that's what you have to be a good president.
If, for whatever reason in the future, he decides to step away from the race, is there someone else in the Republican Party that you also think has a good chance of being elected?
I think that no one will have a chance to be elected unless they care about the average American. And we missed out on that the last two times. They may have cared, but it did not come across that way. And I think that to be elected as a Republican this next time, the person who shows that they care more about the average American person out there, they will be the one that's elected because people vote with their heart and not with their head. Now, why are people right now leaning towards Donald Trump? As I said, he is striking a chord. He is hitting on something, and that's frustration with the American people. The thing I think right now that people are most concerned about, and every 4 years you can go through and you can pick out certain issues, whether it's the economy. Last time it was the economy. This time the economy is better, so that's not the number one issue. People are afraid of ISIS, and they are afraid of terrorists. We see the homegrown terrorists, like happened in San Bernardino. And so we're afraid of right now, and I have struck a chord, but I did it because I want to protect the people of Alabama.
You're talking about refusing Syrian refugees.
And I have refused to take any Syrian refugees. And you know, the federal government, the only thing they do is they try to regurgitate and reiterate their 40-year-old plan, which is very archaic. And they have intentionally circumvented the states. And I am very much for standing strong, and I was the first governor that came out for that. Then 30 governors followed. Congress passed a piece of legislation to actually back up what I believe. And there are other pieces of legislation that is being looked at right now. And even the White House called us on 2 or 3 occasions that next week. But they never, ever came up with a legitimate plan, and they still don't have that.
Do you believe that Syrian refugees coming to this country intend to do harm?
We don't know. Do the vast majority of them, are they safe? The vast majority are safe. But if you had 10,000 jelly beans and 2 were poisonous and you mixed them all up, how many times would you reach in and get a handful and take a chance on that. It only takes one terrorist, only one, to do damage to a large number of people. We really can't take a chance on that. My job as governor is to protect the people of this state, is to keep the people of this state secure. The federal government doesn't do that. It's the governor and our law enforcement that does that. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I am going to continue to refuse to take the refugees into this state.
Is there something that can be done that would sort of answer your concerns about that program, about the refugee program?
Well, I think the federal government needs to have a better system. But right now they don't have that. And so I can't take a chance on that. Even the female in the San Bernardino massacre, she had been screened. She had been screened, but you know what? They didn't check her social media. And so they didn't catch her. Now, the screening process is inadequate. And, you know, many of these are elderly, many of them are children. But, you know, you can't take a chance on the others. And you really can't take a chance on that because we need to make sure that I think they're settled closer to their home, not brought to the United States. And if they are going to be brought here, they cannot, the federal government cannot circumvent states. And that's what they're doing right now.
I want to go back and touch again just on the 2016 presidential election. Alabama moved its primary up to March and is part of the so-called SEC primary. Do you think that that's putting Alabama in a better position to be taken a little bit more seriously by those people wanting to run for president?
I do, and I was very much in favor of that. I think that having SEC, I started to say SEC tournament, but having an SEC election like that, I think is very important because, as you notice, so many of the candidates have come to Alabama. Now, I haven't seen a lot of money spent as far as television ads, things like this, not yet, but there probably will be just before the election. No, I think that it's very important that we are relevant in this process.
Let's talk Alabama football.
Okay.
Alabama going to the Cotton Bowl in my home state of Texas. Super excited about that. Are you planning on traveling to Texas and maybe even to Phoenix to support the football team?
I'm making some plans. We have to make security plans for me. My security team has to, and so they are making plans right now. And so as far as I know, I intend to go at least to the Cotton Bowl. And hopefully I will at least have the opportunity to go to the national championship.
What would you say to Coach Saban, to those players that are competing on a big national platform, a national stage in the Cotton Bowl, and maybe even the national championship? What kind of encouragement can you give to those players?
Oh, listen, Coach Saban has done such a fantastic job. You know, I love his approach to things. He's organized, he has a plan, he has a purpose, and he sticks to his plan. And that process that he has, getting everyone on the same team, working for the same goal, it pays off. He's just done a great job. You know, I've known all the coaches. I was Coach Bryant's doctor, and Coach Bryant was a great coach in his time. He did a fantastic job. He adjusted, just like Coach Saban adjusts. And we've had some great coaches. Coach Stallings was a great coach also. But Coach Saban, he is just head and shoulders above most coaches in this country. And I'm very proud that he's at Alabama, and he just does a fantastic job. And we've got a great team. Alabama's a great team. You know, Auburn's had some struggles, and they played hard in the Iron Bowl, and they did a great job also. But you know, you have to give credit where credit's due, and Coach Saban has really built a very powerful process and a very significant way of building a team, and he's just done a great job.
And I think we're probably getting close, so just one or two more questions. And then Not sure how much you follow Birmingham news. Recently, we had a bit of a scuffle at City Hall between the mayor and a city councilor. It is sort of one in a long line of stories where there just seems to be no compromise between people who don't agree, especially in city and local government. And there seems to be a lot of distrust among residents, not just in Alabama, but I think across the country of government on federal and a local level. What can be done as an elected official? What can you do to sort of bring that trust back into that relationship with residents and with voters?
You know, I think that if you look back in history, there has always been some distrust of government. There's always been some problems. And we have it today. We have it on the state level, we have it on the federal level. And I get frustrated. I get frustrated more with the federal government than I do with the state government, but I get frustrated on the state level myself, just like the people do. But you have to remember this. As frustrated as we get, and as difficult as it is sometimes, we have the greatest government and the greatest system in this world because it is a government of the people. Now, sometimes people don't think that's the case, but it is. And people have the right to vote these folks out if they don't like them. And they have a right to do that and a duty to do that. We still have the greatest country in the world. And I truly believe, and I am so honored to serve as the governor of this state because I think we also have the greatest state in this country. And I just appreciate the fact that people have allowed me to serve them as their governor because I truly want to be a servant and I want to do everything that I can to help people. And I think if you keep that in mind, I think if you remember that it's always people that you're working for, the people of Alabama or the people of this country or the people of Birmingham, if you always remember that, everything's going to be okay.
The last question is, we're coming up onto Christmas and New Year's. Just what message do you have to the people of Alabama?
Well, again, let me say thank you, and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and we're going to have a great New Year, and let's all work together to try to make Alabama a greater state and a better state, but let's all try to do it to try to make people's families better and lives better, help them get a job, help their children be educated, and let's try to